formally welcome David Matsanga. Good to see you, and thanks for joining us. Thanks for your time. And I'm more excited that you're here because you had spoken, it was even last year you also said that we're likely to see more of this. And Hassan has just given us some historical perspective, talking about colonialism and the Francophone African nations as against what we've seen in the Anglo-African countries. So help us here, David. When you spoke then that we're likely to see more of such attempts by the military, what exactly did you see that made you make that statement then?
First of all, thank you very much. I think I was, and I want to thank Dr. Hassan, my brother. I've been looking for a time when we can debate such a debate, very crucial to Africa. I'm a Pan-African who speaks it as it is. And on this show, 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, I told you yourself that there is another coup. And now, before I go further, there is another one coming. There's another one coming. And this time, one of these countries will shake the world. There is one coming. You know what? The problem that we have is we have not gone. I agree with Hassan completely. They left a shaky ground. The colonial master came in, arrived, but left us tied to something that we cannot run away from. A country has its minerals, for example. It cannot mine them. But the people are poor. People are saying we need services. But in the French colonies, some of these countries cannot mine those minerals. They have to get a permit from Paris. I have been on the record because I don't go to Paris. I don't care a damn. I don't need their passport. I don't care a damn. If they say don't come, I am not bothered. I am one of the few people who does not like the French policy on African continent. It has divided us Africans more than before. And therefore, there are two things that we should do as Africans. If you look at the people coming from the barracks to overthrow governments, they are not generals. They are younger generation, a crop of younger generation. Is there a problem? Why is it that we are not having General Babangida, General who, like those General Muhammad Buhari, General Obasanjo, who came up and overthrew governments? Why? Because the French cannot convince those old generals that these are the way things used to be. We can do this because all the generals know them better. The younger generation within the army, in most of the other French-speaking countries, are ambitious. One, ambitious for money. Two, ambitious for power. And three, they seem not to learn the background of where Africa came from the colonial era up to today. So some of these coups are going to happen, as many as possible. And if you don't come in now to arrest the situation, unfortunately, my brother Hassan, we don't have an organization that can control it. The African Union was rented. And Hassan, I listened to Hassan this morning with Professor Kagwanja and all my professor friends. My dear, you should have hit the point. This AU is not AU. There is no AU. Don't even come here and tell me, my brother, there is African Union. African Union is on paper. But in practical terms, the man from Chad, Dr. Mohamed Faki, has sold to the French. He has rented our union to the French. And I told them this morning, I was not shy. Look at the coup in Khartoum, for example. And Dr. Hassan is very correct. Who are these key players, external key players? The coup in Khartoum was influenced by the Western Hemisphere, the French. They went to the generals and they said, we can remove sanctions, but if you only hand us over Omar Bashir. I went down to research why all of a sudden the chief prosecutor of International Criminal Court himself, who has suffered a problem of injustices in Kenya because of a bad case, went very straight as soon as he took over power to go into Khartoum to take out Omar Bashir. And it is what has caused the current turmoil you see today. I want to reveal to you today, in the name of God, what I found out is I was right when I told General Doglo, number 2, who is my friend since 1994. We have been together in the battlefield. Don't ask how, but we have met somehow. And General Doglo, I told him, the moment you hand over Bashir, Omar Bashir, the next person will be your president, and yourself, you will be in the Hague. Do you know how many sealed warrants that are there for Sudan? 59. I'm giving the news to Africa and to them. I've told them already. And believe me or not, they are not going to give power now. 59 warrants sealed.
Let me throw this in now that you've already given your own reaction to what Dr. Hassan has said. The thing here is that understanding is very key, and that is why it's instructive we keep talking to the people of the continent. Looking at the crowd, the way some of these people celebrated, is it safe to say the people are overbearing in their celebration of successful coups? Does it suggest something negative or positive? David?
Let me tell you, my brother, for us, Uganda was the first country, I think one of the 3 countries in Africa to get the first coup. By then I was going to senior 1, 25th January 1971. In the morning, Ugandans went to the streets, celebrated the presence and the arrival of General Idi Amin. I was left, my father was one of the political, followers of Dr. Milton Obote. He left me in a car to go to the senior secondary school for the first time. We celebrated, but our celebrations were short-lived. Just as even the British were the first people to recognize Idi Amin. Their celebrations were short-lived. The only thing that I am telling you, these celebrations are short-lived because people think there is something new going to come. But after a month or 2 months or 3 months or 6 months, the same celebrations turn into anger because the problems that have been found which caused the coup still remain there. If you look at the common denominator of all coups that are taking place in Africa today, there is one thing called corruption. There is no soldier who does not announce the word corruption on the platform when he has taken power over national television. We have dissolved the constitution because the president was corrupt, Conde was corrupt, the man Keita, the late Keita was corrupt. I think the one of Guinea-Bissau was going to be finished again, corrupt. Corruption is at the center of all this. And every country in Africa which is having a civilian government must watch out that corruption must be rooted out. I am just telling you there's a big one coming. Look at Miss Eye here, I'm telling you. The left eye, I'm telling you. There's a big one coming in that region that will shock the world because I've seen it. Dr. Hassan, you know I'm a member of the International Institute of Strategic Studies, life member, and a member of Chatham House, myself. I see these coups coming. I can see something is wrong. Corruption
certainly,
is the center.
David Matsanga, certainly something is wrong, something is not right, and that is why Africa needs to draw, from, its experts like yourselves, both of you, honestly, and quite so. David Matsanga, help us here because, looking at the young officers and also talking about, by the way, thank you very much, Hassan, for, space sheeting on that aspect of, jubilation, which doesn't actually, mean an acceptance. There's always a divide in every, country of the world. Those who are in opposition and those who are for that particular government. So, David, this has to do with what, people are getting in some other parts of the continent. Some think, help us here, because you said something about the colonial masters, still pulling the strings in some of these countries. But some others thought that the coups were a protest against the colonial masters. But listening to you now, it looks as if these people have been, instigated and supported by the colonial masters to unseat the government.
Yes, there are two planks. They come from, one is called George Soros. He's an outfit of CIA, which overthrows governments, and it has put it on your website. I don't know whether you have seen it. It says it overthrows governments. And it has stated categorically that when we see a bad government in Africa, we come for you. They pay money in dollars and destabilize the government. Hassan knows what in Kenya, who is being funded by the George Soros group. Today, the George Soros group in Kenya, for example, are not talking about corruption. There is nobody, no NGO in Kenya going to court to stop corruption. They are only going to court on the side of corruption. You saw all NGOs in Kenya, for example, filing applications to stop a good law. On whose side are they? On one of the candidates. Let me bring you another flank. Another flank is something called Total Oil. Some of you Africans are very crazy. I don't know whether Hassan is crazy like some Africans. I don't watch AFCOM. I don't watch AFCOM at all. You know why I don't watch AFCOM as a Pan-African? It's because it is sponsored by Total Oil. Total Oil is the main cause of all the conflicts that we have on this great continent, including the one in Mozambique, Cape Delgado. There was no war there. There was no war there. Now, today, they are around this region in Uganda signing an agreement yesterday, and they are running around in Hassan's country, in Ngamia 1, Ngamia 2, Ngamia 3. They are preparing for a regime change. And we are not saying it. They keep us in conflict while they sign contracts for where the oil is, and the hot gas, spring, and so on and so forth. Now, another problem we have in Africa is that we intend to take our young officers for courses in America, in the United Kingdom, instead of taking them to courses in Tanzania. How many African countries don't take their officers abroad? I see announcements yesterday, the other day, President Museveni sent 2 officers abroad. You are sending them to go and study democracy, which is not in your country. You are sending officers. Have you ever seen Chinese sending people to study, military people? They are military people to study abroad. Have you? Show me one Chinese who is studying abroad in the United Kingdom. Show me. They have their own training grounds of culture. But if you are sending your officers, the officer who overthrew President Conde, where was he trained? He was trained in Paris. He went to Paris. He went to several schools where democracy is available. So when such an officer returns from abroad to come and take over a unit, a battalion of men, and becomes a commander of these men, he wants to see democracy. But when he hears the president saying this, and even the president calling him, come quickly, there is diamond here which we want you to export. You are teaching him. Some of them don't like this. These are younger men. We are lucky that the officers who went to in London, in UK, in that military school in UK, and the one that trains people in the US, these are all the generals. That's why you are not finding a group of all the generals coming to overthrow governments in Africa.
Well, David, help us here. Listening to Hassan, what readily comes to mind is like the mother hen has been, taken out, and the chicks are all around, scampering for safety. Help us. Why is Africa divided?
It's divided because we are also divided from our mother's wombs. We have not faced a change. Africa's mindset is fixed. Africa's mindset is who has got more and who has got less. Look at the situation. Let me first of all react to what Dr. Hassan has said. To save sanctions, which sanctions? AU is a toothless dog. Let's talk the truth, Hassan. What sanctions? AU has double standards. Remember the election is in Democratic Republic of Congo. The AU sent their observers and monitors. They spent our taxpayers' money. For almost 2 months, they were in Democratic Republic of Congo. They brought out a report saying the elections in Congo were free and fair, although there were a few difficulties here. The overall picture was very good. They went back to Addis Ababa. The chairperson of African Union, and you can check this, it's not Matsanga, check it and see. The chairperson of African Union, my dear brothers, wrote a letter telling all African presidents not to attend the inauguration ceremony of Mr. Tshisekedi. On instructions of who? On the instructions of France, French hegemony. The man wrote a letter, and this is the man who paid observers to go to Congo. And they brought a report. Then he said no president should go for inauguration. It was only Uhuru Kenyatta, Raila Odinga, Kalonzo, and Zimbabwe. Because I told Emerson, don't listen to stupidity. Send the deputy president. And Deputy President General Chiwenga was in. That is to show that African Union is rented. We have rented it to France. Tells us to jump, we jump. France tells us to go slow, we go slow. There are so many instances in Africa where I can bring these examples. So on question of sanctions, you are putting sanctions. Why don't you put there, and Dr. Hassan, you and I can sit down and give these guys a paper on trigger of conflict? Why don't you put there a mechanism which trigger warning systems that there is a coup coming? Call this president. Look at the question of Cameroon. We are playing football in Cameroon. A few meters away, there are men in the bush. There are women in the bush who have never eaten for almost 6 years. They are being butchered in Amazonia. And this president of Cameroon does not even live in Cameroon. Do you know the problem we have in Africa? Surely you people. Look, a president comes to open a football match of Africans and flies back to Geneva, Switzerland, to stay until he comes for closing match. You call that Africa? Is this the Africa we want? So, no, you tell me, is this Africa? Can I go for such a football match? When there are people in the bush who have suffered, women, children who have not gone to school.
Before I go to Hassan, let me come in here. You've mentioned some names, and I was also
going to mention
no, I was also going.
No,
you mentioned some names, and I was going to ask, how is it that some of these key individuals, key presidents on the continent, for instance, by every means, a lot of Africans love President Kenyatta. Why is it that we haven't seen people who are so audacious, people who understand the politics of unity, come on the saddle to drive the union and see what, comes to the continent?
Kenyatta has tried. The war in Ethiopia is cooling down because of President Kenyatta, and I give him a credit. I want to give him a credit. The Ethiopian conflict is down. The Rwanda-Uganda conflict is Kenyatta again, quietly behind the scenes, silent diplomacy. His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta has done very well here. But let me tell you, you are saying that which African leader will condemn the other? There is no African leader who can condemn the other. Tell me or show me one who has condemned the other. We are only condemning the soldiers who have come to overthrow us. None of them can condemn the other. You look at Tshisekedi, when he arrived at the AU, he was given the chairmanship. The man, did not want to witness his inauguration. So what type of standards are these? Let me come to the elephant in the house before Dr. Hassan comes in. The elephant in the house is Turkey, UAE, France, and now Russia and America. That is where, look at another example, very worrying on Africa. You go to Libya, you recognize the government in Tripoli. You create General Khalifa Haftar and give him Bagazi. The same AU deals with both Khalifa Haftar and the other one. And we have already in AU, in the heads of state conference, summit, and the Council of Ministers recognize the Tripoli government. Where is the double standard coming from? In Bagazi, there is France behind the Bagazi government of General Khalifa Haftar. Egypt, Assisi was the chairman. He recognized General Khalifa Haftar. Is that AU? Zero. Turkey has come in as a new merchant of conflict.
David, before I ask that you give us your closing statement, please help us here with this. I realize Senegal has never experienced a coup d'etat, but its current political instability and protest by citizens is putting it at such risk. How can a country like Senegal deal with this kind of problem?
First of all, I am one of the few, and let Hassan hear me. I'm one of the few people who say Africa does not need elections. Because we don't understand what elections are in Africa. Elections in Africa is to beat each other. We pay money to be beaten after the end of the elections or during the elections. If I were a leader in Africa, first thing is to change a method of how we can govern ourselves. I have never seen a Chinese MP. If you have seen one of them, Dr. Hassan Haninge, bring one to me, I'll give you 1 million shillings. Have you ever seen a Chinese MP with a briefcase and a big can, a big stomach, bigger than Matsanga's? Maybe. Have you? It is not there. They are not there, but they give us money. They lend us money. We wasted time and money which would build hospitals on elections that we don't agree on. So why do we hold elections? Africa does not need elections. That's one. Two, a country like Senegal, President Wani did a great job. He assimilated very many people. But time has come when people who were assimilated are gone. The assimilated guys are gone. These are new men coming in. The younger generation of Matsanga, who grew up when assimilation policy was real, are dying. They have died. They are going. So there is a new dispensation which is coming in countries like Syria and fueled by plank number one, the CIA outfit of George Soros. Why has George Soros, who was issued warrants of arrest to Interpol by Russia, not arrested? He's very near the headquarters of United Nations and Trump's office, but nobody can take a warrant there to arrest him. But he comes to pay civil society in Senegal to rise and go to the streets. They don't want to stabilize the country in Africa at all. They don't. So Senegal would face a challenge soon. You say that there has never been a coup, but because Senegal accepts what France says quietly, but let them come up and say we are not happy, we are not, you'll see a coup tomorrow. That's the reality. And one of the things I don't want to miss, and Hassan goes home without it, I like these boys of Mali. They have done a very good job. 72 hours. Quit. That's good Africa. A bit of it. Quit our territory. Because we are fighting insurgents. Look at your country, Suleiman. The whole north of your country is not there. You are talking in Lagos, up in Madiguri, is gone. Insurgents, the ISIS, are eating people there. They are cutting people's arms. We cannot sit as Africans and fly to Addis Ababa with good suits and perfumes to show our suits when Africa is burning. Nowhere. No, no. We must stand up and say, and my final point, because I might lose time here, AU is, African Union is obsolete. 20 years we celebrated on Saturday. You remember that? Change the name. The car has no fuel. Change the name, obsolete. We changed it from Organization of African Union on 29th January in Durban. You remember I was there with my eyes. Change the name. Point number 2, AU is sick. Sick as Dr. Hassan Hanyenji has said. It is sick, Suleiman. Don't allow sickness to spread everywhere. We have survived the corona, and we don't want sickness from AU. Number 4, and which is very devastating, the amount of corruption in the AU itself. Suleiman, I want to tell you, we applied for passports. They told us, fill the forms. Some of us filled the forms telling even when our fathers died. The date of your father when he died, fill the form. Where are these passports for African Union? 0.